Hi, I'm Margaret and welcome to Garden School. Today we're going to talk about selecting tomato varieties to meet your needs. So let's go. So here in the Garden Center, among a lot of other wonderful things, are tomato starts. It is certainly not time yet to plant out tomato starts. So I wanted to talk today about how to determine what varieties to select because I think it's a little bit early for transplants. Anyway, we'll chat about that in a moment. Well, in determining tomato plant varieties, there are lots of things to consider. And I got some help from one of my sisters on this. She has created a spreadsheet. Well, it's really not a spreadsheet. It's handwritten. It's on 4 different pages, and it is detailing the different characteristics and growing needs of early season tomatoes, mid-season tomatoes, and late season tomatoes. Now, one of the things that I wanted to consider when I was selecting my tomato varieties was disease resistance. I wanted it to be highly resistant to diseases, and I also wanted high productivity. Well, I wanted to show you these worksheets, and we'll talk over some of the other characteristics there. Now, my sister has detailed over 60 varieties on these spreadsheets, and what she's done is detailed first. This is a mid-season worksheet, and it shows the number of days from transplant to harvest. Then there's the type. Is it an open pollinated variety or an F1 hybrid? And that has to do with the reliability of what you're going to get with your fruit. Then there's the color of the fruit, ranging, wow, there's just about everything here except blue. That's pretty great. Then another thing to consider is the fruit size, the ounces, how much the average fruit would weigh, and also the inches I'm assuming that is diameter. So how big the fruit is. She's also included the fruit taste and texture, some different categories there, as well as some uses. So as well as just fresh eating, there's also some varieties that are better for drying or better for making tomato paste products, things like that. And then a couple more columns here. Productivity. Well, I was looking for something that would be highly productive, and I was also looking for something that would be highly disease resistant. Then an important thing to consider is the tomato plant itself a determinate plant or indeterminate? Now, determinate means that it will grow to its full size, set its fruit, and it's not going to continue to vine and grow as far as vegetatively. The indeterminate will continue to vine, continue to blossom and set fruit, so it can get quite large. That is something to consider when you're talking about how to support your plants and the space that you have. Wow, that's a lot of things to consider. Well, in addition to the productivity and the high disease resistance that I was looking for, I wanted to make sure that I was getting more of the determinate varieties because I'm not going to grow them in containers. If I do decide on some indeterminates, I will need to make sure I have the supporting structure for them that will be adequate for them. Now, there is one interesting thing that I noticed, and that is that when you go to the fruit color, when you go away from red, it seemed like the disease resistance was not as high. Now, I don't know if there's a correlation between the red pigment of the fruit and disease resistance. Perhaps there is. I could do a little research on that to find out, but that could be something kind of an interesting thing to consider. However, it is still so nice to see all those different colors and shapes of tomato fruits. Just really wonderful. Now, I think the best thing about this is my sister sent this to me and said, what would you like me to start for you? Well, I'm really happy about that because she's got a great setup with heat mats for the germination of those tomato seeds, as well as a nice sized greenhouse where she can keep things protected until they're ready to transplant. And she's hoping that around Mother's Day, she'll be able to give us perhaps all the varieties we selected or something that's close to that. Well, that's just an interesting thing to consider about selecting tomato varieties. What do you really want to have? Maybe you have an area where you'll be able to protect your tomato plants as the fruit starts to ripen, and we get some rain in the late summer so that those plants would be protected against the late blight disease. Some people do that. In fact, my neighbor's building something. It looks like he's going to do that very thing for his tomato plants. That way he can grow some of the late season ripening ones and also some of the maybe more non-traditional colored fruits that seem to have less disease resistance. Well, when it comes to tomatoes, and this is not anywhere near all of the tomato varieties, these are just the ones she has tried, over 60 varieties. That's just amazing. I gotta take my hat off to her. She's doing a great job with that. Keep it up, sister. Well, thank you for tuning in here, and think about yummy, yummy tomatoes and what you'd like to get from your garden this year. There's always more to learn in the garden. Bye-bye.